We're all three in our own separate basements that are exactly the same. Who lasts the longest
without getting
social
interaction
or just giving up?
I think here's the deal. I would, assuming we all miss our families the exact same amount, so that's all even. I would be fine.
No way.
I'd be fine.
Welcome to The Cover, where three Hoosier friends judge books by their covers and movies by their trailers.
That's right. I'm Brett, here with my fellow Indiana natives, Remington and Marcus, ready to dive into the stories that keep us up all night and occasionally put us to sleep.
Whether you're a bookworm, movie buff, or just here for the witty banter, we've got you covered.
Each week, we'll dissect a different book or movie, sharing fun facts, hot takes, and moments that make Marcus cry. Spoiler alert, we're not experts, but we're definitely opinionated.
From literary masterpieces to blockbuster flops, nothing is safe from our snarky reviews and wild tangents. Who knew Hoosiers could be this entertaining?
So grab your popcorn and reading glasses because we're about to embark on a hilarious journey through the pages and screens that shape our lives. Or at least our weekends.
You're listening to The Cover. Let's get the show on the road before one of our kids wakes up. So, you forgot to talk about the fact that you stole booze from my house.
Oh, no!
So Marcus always picks like a flavor like of something, a flavor of the week, a drink that we're all drinking that has to do.
Green Light was my favorite story.
Yeah, so with Green Lights,
story was great.
Yeah, you have which comes out this week, by the way.
Pantalones.
Pantalones, which he owns. We didn't even know about it.
Apparently, it's organic.
Not surprised.
I would expect.
It's
I would expect
basically
nothing less.
salad.
With ketchup on it.
Yeah.
Green Light.
So anyway, for Parasite, Marcus has this great idea that he's gonna wander through my house.
You're doing such a good job telling the story. I thought you were telling me the story.
I am telling
and I was
you the
like,
story.
I was
Tell the story. It's a good one. I'm the central character.
So the funniest part though is that he has this idea in his car beforehand. Like you probably planned this for a minute.
Oh, I planned it for a while. Yeah.
So because
the second he didn't pick up anything to drink, that was the plan.
Well,
no. I planned it like I was trying to think about what I was.
I thought it was like I forgot to pick up the drink. Oh,
No.
this is even better.
No. I was planning what am I gonna get.
And I know
drink.
this to be true because he was so excited to do it that he screwed it up. So the story, the Parasite is like they infiltrate the house and they start stealing from essentially like that's the most basic premise of the movie. So Marcus's grand idea is instead of bringing a themed drink, he's going to wander through the house and steal something eerily, bring it down for us to drink. But the funny thing was, I'm standing in my office trying to get ready for the show, like getting all the the microphones and all the stuff. And I'm talking to him, and he's kind of like half ignoring me in a way that he never does to get to behind the shelf of bourbon. And he's just like looking around like as if he's not going straight for the bourbon. And I'm basically like, so did you forget to bring the drink this time? He's like, dang it.
Dude, of the three of us, which of the three of us would last the least long in the basement at that house?
Oh my gosh. First of all, where did that come from?
It'd be between me and you, but because we were just talking about how unsneaky I was.
Oh yeah,
it's like I would get caught.
Yeah, you were like you were like my daughter going, "Hey, just so you know, you can't see me right now."
That's so true. No, I think it'd totally be me. Like I can't go, and I'm getting better at this. But there was a time where, like, if I'd be home alone for 5 minutes, I'd be calling literally one of you guys.
I remember this. Yeah.
Trying to figure out where I was going or who was
this?
coming over. Oh yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I get me time now.
All right,
I need
good for you.
after kid number 4.
I
like
understand.
you need some. Yeah,
Dude, I will be soaking that stuff up. Riley's like, "Hey, but out, you good?" I'm like, "We're great."
Yeah,
Got the kids down at 6:45 tonight. What do you mean? We're good.
This is
I
wonderful.
have to mow the yard a lot more often these days. Let's just put it that way.
Well, during the summertime, I'll be working in my home office, and like all the kids are home.
Yeah.
And we have neighbor kids there.
Yeah.
Right? It was one day last week that I just left. I had nothing to do. I had no meetings. I just left. And Jessica called. She's like, I didn't know you had any meetings or anything. I was like, I didn't. I just couldn't handle it anymore.
Dude, women are gifted in ways that men aren't, though. Like, truly, they are gifted
100%,
in,
for sure.
in ways that we are not. The nurture side, like, is tough.
There's a woman listening to us right now that is just calling BS. She's like, I'm on to you. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Fine. It's great. Hey, what's new tonight before we talk about what we're covering? What is, so that was last week's story. What do we got this week for drink
this
choice?
week, well, I was going in between. So we're doing, well, should I just say what we're doing?
Sure,
Okay, we're doing The Boys in the Boat tonight.
So excited. So excited.
1936.
Yep.
They talk a lot about the Depression, Prohibition time. So I was looking up, trying to find some different breweries. The only thing that I could find that I thought would be a really good fit was Rainier beer, which is really not
Mount
very
Rainier.
good. But it is out in Seattle and has been, and they could have actually been drinking that beer,
Yeah,
right?
true.
So what I landed on was a German.
How much?
Well,
by the way, how much was it?
Huh?
Do you remember, like in the book, about a range in the back in the third? Because
Oh,
this would
no,
have
I
been
don't
3
remember.
years after the Prohibition. Beer was still like a nickel.
Well, the
Nickel
beer
sounds right.
Well, the beer after the Prohibition was more expensive. I was reading something when I was doing a little bit of research, and they said that in bars, the like rye and like all of the other spirits were like 80% of their sales, and beer was 20%
Interesting.
because the beer was more expensive. I think as they were getting the production up
Yeah.
after Prohibition.
And they were not drinking that beer because they were on Al Ulrichson's team, and he
That's
would
true.
not
The
allow
kids
that.
were not,
Yeah,
yeah.
the kids were not. No.
Yeah, sure. Sure they weren't.
Yeah. Well, half of them couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
But
Well, they did when they were celebrating. So
Right.
I said, what kind of beer would they be drinking as they went out and celebrated? So
Yes,
that's
I
great.
got some sort of German double Bach beer here.
Scale of
since
1 to
16
10.
Since 1634. So it's definitely
Wow,
conceivable
wow.
that they would
Yeah.
have had this beer.
Scale of
that
1 to
night.
10. How dark and like really tough is this beer that you're drinking?
Should we go 1 to 9?
Oh, good
yeah,
call.
1 to 9.
Pretty dark. Think kind of almost like a bourbon barrel type of a beer.
Hold on. Should we go 1 to 9? Pretty dark.
I think I would give it like a on the how dark. I think it's a 7.9%.
Yeah, of course, decimal points.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
that's perfect. 7.9. It's 7.9%.
7.9 dark.
I
Okay.
think 7.9 on the 9-point
He
scale.
chose a beer which you conveniently cannot have.
I can't. What do you forgot? 'Cause
Did
he got
you
out of the
want
car.
I'll take one. Yeah.
I did have my High Noons in my cooler backpack, grabbed my tablet, and didn't grab the High Noons. So I was meant to have Four Roses tonight from the Remington collection.
Oh, nice.
Four Roses is one of my
Oh
favorite.
wait, so you parasited me?
He
Yeah,
parasited,
he parasited
you.
you,
For sure.
yes.
I really think that's
I
an
think we
interesting
all
question you
have fridge rights
posed.
at all of our houses, right? I thought that.
we don't keep score.
So his question though about who would last long in the basement. I mean, even if you didn't hear the parasite episode, which you should, I'm interested in that question because you're a lifelong Survivor fan.
Oh yeah,
So like
me too.
so like who would win in a battle of who can outlast in a show where like you just had to like be tortured
Well, it's
alone?
more- hey, that's more
versus-
like the show Alone than it is Survivor.
Yeah.
Yes. So, because I think Survivor is way more social
Yes.
plus, like social plus.
Correct. Parasite, not social.
Right.
Not, yeah. There's two outlasting questions. One is how long could you not get caught, and then the second question is how long could you just last down there by yourself. I think it's two different.
I think
questions.
those would go together
I don't
because
know.
you'd have to eat.
Like you have to eat, but like I'm just loud. Like I will drop something. I can be clumsy. Like
It's pretty good.
so I think from the aspect of accidentally getting caught, I might fail, like sneaking into the kitchen, I'd break something. But being down in the basement, being completely fine about being by myself, not a problem.
No
at all.
way. What do you mean not a problem? Like for how long?
Okay, do I already have kids? Am I away from my kids? Am I?
So in this scenario, you're a parasite.
We're all three in our own separate basements that are exactly the same. Who lasts the longest
without needing
without getting
social
caught
interaction
or just giving up?
I think here's the deal. I would, assuming we all miss our families the exact same amount, so that's all even. I would be fine.
No way.
I'd be fine.
For how long?
Dude, I think I could just read books and hang out.
For how long?
I would not be fine.
I don't know, but I think I'd be okay.
You don't have internet. You can't.
Are you
post
talking
on
weeks?
YouTube.
Weeks.
I think I could go weeks. No, but here's the thing. If you don't know when it's going to end,
So
if
that's
it's
the
ever
other
gonna
thing.
end,
It's like you don't know if this is forever.
and
That's
then
the
it-
psychological. But if you knew, so okay, if you knew you had to go
If we
14 days.
Oh well, if I knew I had to go 14, then I could do 14.
but here's the
But
deal.
the tricky part here is like we don't know when the other people quit.
Yeah.
We can only win once.
You guys
they
seen
tell
or
us.
read Unbroken?
I've not.
Oh yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing. People think, oh,
We should
you're
do that.
That's
part.
definitely a
you're
book we should do.
extroverted, so you need people. No, I'm extroverted and talk to people all day, so 14 days by myself sounds really
Yeah,
awesome.
But you don't. But you don't have that.
4 days into it though.
I don't know,
Exactly.
man.
Exactly.
I've never taken a vacation by myself. I've never
Who
done.
has?
I've-
When's the last vacation you took by yourself, Mangus?
I don't.
You've done a weekend retreat by yourself.
I've done a day and it was brutal.
I like doing a day by myself.
Oh
like
man.
by the end, I was like, I'm coming home.
No, I could easily do a weekend.
Like
No
and now
problem.
that was back. That's what I'm saying. I'm getting better now.
Yeah.
Like I don't know about like a weekend, and even then I'd be like checking in every once in a while. And
Yeah, I think as long as I had the green light
Yeah.
from Riley
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she
yeah.
felt great about it, and it did
Yeah.
like as long as that was taken care of, and I felt good about how I left, I don't think I'd have any problem being away.
I could shut the phone off and go like hiking and
Mm-hmm.
camping or whatever. I could do that.
there's
for
a. Do you guys have
at least a weekend.
so
But in a basement?
up in my cabin, I've got this these two Amish made chairs that are literally on the water, and
Yeah.
I've made it a not a tradition, like it's just a habit of when I wake up, I take a
The blue and white, the white.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
those are beautiful chairs.
I take a cup of coffee out there and I do devotions and I just sit there and I look at the water, and I think moments like that where I'm at peace and talking to God have allowed me to step into this space where I can have more me time, more God time.
Dude, if there's any part of my day.
Every time that I'm up there, I do that.
Yeah.
Because I normally just wake up earlier than everybody else.
Do you guys
So
have that in your homes? Like, do you have
Yes,
those?
my home office.
my home
That's your
office
quiet
is my
place?
space,
Dude,
for
and
sure.
it's 30 minutes a morning for me, man. I wish I need to plan out more days where I'm not going right to work or taking the girls to school, where I do that and I have the extra time to like spend 2 hours doing that. It's my favorite time of the day.
I've also been taking like walks. So during the summertime, we don't have to get the kids to school
Yep.
and different things, and so I've realized I've just got this time.
Take a walk. It
And
could be
so
in
I've
silence.
just taken a walk, and
It
I'll
could be
just
listening to your favorite the cover
take the
podcast
dog
episode.
and
It could be a lot
listen
of
to.
different
I
things.
just listen to the cover on repeat.
Yeah.
So all of those,
You're the
of those
listener.
listeners, that's me.
we laugh, but that's absolutely happening.
Guys, we got 3 streams this week. 1, 2,
Marcus took
3
3 walks.
Well, hey, welcome to the Cover Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brett Wiggins. To my left,
Marcus Mangus.
Marcus, and to my right,
Marcus Remington Ramsey.
what are we covering? Oh, Marcus,
Yeah.
you got the back of that book ready to go?
Oh, I forgot.
Marcus,
about that.
what are
Let's do
we
it.
what are we covering right now?
We're covering The Boys in the Boat. Here's what it says by Daniel James Brown.
Hold on.
So impressed.
I got a proposal. You have your 9 words. Do you have them ready to go?
No, I do not.
Okay. You've got your scat
Slam poetry. Yep.
Mine sucked this far. I think I should be the one to read the back of the jacket. And that'll be my
You want
thing.
this to replace your 30-second synopsis?
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
Because I get into a synopsis like even in the show anyway.
This is
so-
why I don't listen to the episode.
You don't listen to it?
No, I don't listen to it because
You haven't listened to an episode yet?
I've listened to some moments that I
You're
jotted
kidding.
down. No.
Wait, hold on.
I don't listen to my own. I don't listen. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
There's
but
only one
but
podcast.
Marcus and I are on the show, and we're awesome.
Yeah.
so-
I don't know. I'm.
You haven't listened to the show yet?
No.
That's wild. That's okay. I've enjoyed it.
I thought it was. Good.
I've listened to the
I think,
opener.
I think we're good, not great. That's what I'd say.
I've listened to the opener.
Don't steal my word.
Hey, Green
That's what
Light
I
comes out less than 24 hours after. No.
Wednesday.
Well, it's Monday when we record this. Wednesday. That's gonna be a pretty great one.
Yeah,
No,
Green
I've
Lights is
not.
gonna
I
be
listened
good.
to the opener, and that's it. And then
Anyway,
Riley gives me feedback.
This is my proposal. This is my synopsis.
Okay.
So
You got
we'll go long, medium, short, right? So
Okay.
here's the long form. Here's the jacket.
Daniel James Brown, summary, Boys in the Boat.
Daniel James Brown, which we have determined is not Daniel Brown.
Dan
Correct.
Brown.
Dan Brown,
Dan Brown.
who wrote Angels and Demons,
Right.
Da Vinci Code.
Which is your favorite book.
Dude, it's an amazing book. I got the illustrated version from a Goodwill in Florida on spring break one year. Amazing, dude. No. When I say illustrated, I mean there's maps.
This is like a monumental time.
I
for
don't.
Brett.
By the way, I don't mean like a cartoon kids version. I mean like it's got maps of the city and it's awesome.
You know, just like a kid's book.
All right, Boys in the Boat.
All
Daniel
right.
James Brown.
Out of the depths of the Depression comes the improbable, intimate account of how 9 working-class boys from American West showed the world at the 1936 Olympics in Berlin what true grit really meant. With rowers who were the sons of loggers, shipyard workers, and farmers, the University of Washington's 8-oar crew was never expected to defeat the elite teams of the East Coast and Great Britain, yet they did, going on to shock the world by challenging the German boat rowing for Adolf Hitler. The emotional heart of the tale lies with Joe Rance, a teenager without family or prospects, who rose not only to regain his shattered self-regard, but also to find a real place for himself in the world. Drawing on the boy's own journals and vivid memories of a once-in-a-lifetime shared dream, Brown has created an unforgettable portrait of an era, a celebration of a remarkable achievement, and a chronicle of one extraordinary young man's personal quest.
Sounds great.
Boys in the Boat.
Dude, his research, his detective
It's admirable,
work.
isn't it?
Holy cow.
So I'm glad you brought that
Incredible.
up because I've listened to this now once or twice and I've read it.
Yep.
And when I'm listening to it, I'm thinking about how he puts it into fiction form, right? Historical fiction, to where like he puts you in a scene and he's choosing how to say like Joe put his hand in his pocket and started walking down the road. Like, I'm not sure Joe, when he did the interview, said those exact words, but he has to create. I'm wondering what percentage of things that he uses to create the storyline that aren't like direct.
I don't know that
quotes.
I'd call
feel
this
like-
fiction.
I
or
feel like-
historical
Well, it's not.
fiction.
You're right. You're right. It's not historical. Well, I mean, I don't know.
I feel like because of the extent of his research, he would not allow himself to write anything like that unless he felt really overcome with like getting to know Joe, getting to know his diary, everything. Like this is a move he would make. Like
Right.
and that makes me
Right.
okay with it.
Right.
That makes me
But
absolutely.
it
okay with
has to be considered historical fiction at that point, doesn't it? To be truly nonfiction, it has to be almost a documentary quotes from the people.
Yeah.
Well, he uses a ton of stuff from
Sure.
newspapers, and
I don't know. We need to look
Well,
that up and find out.
Real quick before we get into my slam poetry and Marx's nine words summary. What did you know before you read Boys in the Boat? What did you know about the book?
Yeah.
Who did somebody recommend it to you? What happened?
So I was gifted Boys in the Boat by an old assistant manager who it was the first time I can recall receiving a book as a gift out of nowhere with a note on the inside.
Oh, wow.
And since then, and what maybe one of, but since then, it's my favorite gift to give anybody is a book with a personalized note on the
yeah, I
inside.
love giving books away.
And because I mean, like I've given probably hundreds of books away, many of them with personalized notes about why I thought that person should read this book or what the book meant to me. I just think anyway, that was how I found out about it. And honestly, I didn't read it for a long time. It sat on a shelf, and sad enough, my original copy that was gifted to me burnt down in the fire last year. So I don't have that.
Man.
And because you think about like
Yeah.
what you lose in a fire that you wouldn't miss. I've said, you know, especially in the digital age, we're blessed that most pictures are online, but
Yeah.
I do miss that.
So no, not even like half the book burnt or anything.
Gone.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Now, at the risk of getting completely off topic, who gave it to you?
We all know her.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
I don't know. I'm not even. All right. So I knew absolutely nothing about this book at all. Like literally nothing. I couldn't have told you it was about a crew. I couldn't have told you it was about anything. World War II, Olympics, nothing. Rem just told me to read it and was very passionate.
Yeah, I
about
gave it to. Actually, I'm pretty sure. Do you have your copy? Did I write a note in yours? Because I gave it to you for Christmas.
Well, yeah, I read the book first. I'll see if there's a note in it.
Yeah.
And then I listened to it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Man, yeah, very quickly rose to near the top of my ranks all time.
I had wanted to read it for a long time and just never did. I never bought it. I actually had given it away as a gift
Without reading
to
it?
somebody without reading it
Yep.
because I just knew that he would like it.
Yeah.
And I knew it was good. I think Rem, I'd heard from you and others that it was really good. So I knew a little bit about what it was
I'm
about.
so surprised in leadership or team circles, this isn't a book that has come up to me before. Or like,
I think we're so obsessed with gifting like business books instead of a book like this. for
man, I would
leadership.
not. Maybe it's because we're so many years into all of the different self-help or leadership books that this kind of book really like.
Yeah.
But I can't believe like somebody like I can't believe somebody like Heigl didn't tell me about this type of book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like,
this seems like
is him,
one that he would like. Yeah.
100%.
You know what book Heigl told me to read? Girl
Art
with
of
the
War?
Dragon Tattoo.
Oh, dude, Girl with the Dragon.
It's good. It's a good
Awesome.
series.
All
Yeah.
those books are
Yeah.
great. I've read 2 of them. Okay.
All of them are great. I've read 2.
We're really good with numbers on this show. We're constantly doing stuff. with
That's
numbers.
almost as bad as gifting a book you haven't read. That's good. All right.
waiting for that.
Marcus, are you ready? You want me to go? You good?
I can go.
All right. 9 word synopsis.
Hold on.
What?
I suggested we go the back of the cover, then shorter, which is the scat version, and then one word.
Oh,
clues.
got it. Okay.
You can go.
Like
Okay.
9 words.
All right. Thanks, Rem.
I wouldn't want to screw with Rem.
Am I wrong?
No.
Sounds great.
No, man. You know, it's all good. We're just all playing our role here. All right. I got the clock ready, set, and bang. Joe broke down. Family, no family. Family, no family. Who sends a kid that young to Pennsylvania by himself? Then comes back, doesn't work out. Gets into university somehow. Crew, row, makes the team. Great as a freshman. Ups and downs. Makes the Olympics. Wow, skipped a lot somehow. Then they go to Germany. Didn't know how discreet Germany was with all the horrible things they were doing. They were really good at it, though. They win gold in dramatic fashion. I could have went 3 hours on that synopsis. Marcus, 9 words, go.
That was good. By the way, every time you start, you always start with one word, and then you're. So he always starts with
Joe,
one, and then he starts with one word like Joe. It just like suffers, and every time you do that, Marcus loses it.
Every time we look at each other, I'm just waiting for a time when it's so funny
Joe,
to me that we can't
young
get it
boy,
together.
has no parents.
Who does that?
Then he has parents. Then he doesn't have parents again.
And then we're laughing at me, and then we're just in awe of Marcus's 9 words.
9 words. All right, here we go. Okay. 9 boys come together to give Hitler the business.
Oh,
Did you
Nice.
count, or you just assume he's right?
I'm assuming. I
I counted.
9 boys. You got the coxswain in there.
I got the coxswain in there. Almost said 8, and then I remembered, oh, crap, it's 9.
Dude, but
Because
here's the
we
thing.
know that
They
I would be a
didn't even
coxswain.
realize that they needed to be giving Hitler the business. Like, we felt honored
Yeah, well,
that Hitler let us into his
something
home.
was up, for sure.
Yeah, but do you think the boys
No.
had any
I
thoughts
think they had
of-
enough problems to do it.
Exactly.
Man, what was the vote? There was some vote that was barely. For some reason, I feel like the vote was 58% to 53%, which isn't possible. But I really feel like that was the vote when it was like Olympics or no Olympics.
Yeah, they had sent a coalition over.
Yeah.
And it won narrowly.
Narrowly?
It was like 57
So there was
votes to
some
53 or something.
curiosity at least, but man, crazy.
People knew he was up to no good, but
Nobody answered my question in the chat earlier today, or maybe you did and I didn't see it. So if you guys
That's fine.
know, you don't know, you probably heard in the intro, we ask 9 questions every podcast. What made you stop and think? I think is the correct way to phrase this now.
yeah.
Yeah. A little
Oh
bit
yeah,
more
yeah.
open?
We can.
That works.
We can, Rem. We can do that.
Yeah. I don't understand why he's singling me out.
What now? So here's the deal. I keep track of the things throughout when I'm reading, send myself voice memos. Holy cow! This book was so amazing to me. this is the longest notes I've taken on a book yet.
Yeah.
So
This was the best book.
Do you take
my
notes
goodness.
in the book?
when I'm reading it, yes. But I do that, and I'll send myself like a text and then add it to
Yeah,
whatever I'm using.
I always put it. I'll send it to my email.
Honestly, I used to think I underestimated your value in listening to a book at like 1.5. Dude, I think I love it.
Oh yeah.
I think
because
I
no one
love it.
there's not one book that we've read so far that would be ruined by 1.5 because
Well, even listening over reading, like I love reading. Man,
Yeah.
listening's
just listening in general though,
great
yeah.
too, yeah.
Oh, you hear? I mean,
I do that with the Bible.
You hear different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I started doing that with the Bible, I started seeing and hearing things that I had never put in
100%.
perspective that
Yeah.
way.
Well, I mean, we're an oral culture. We're
Right.
an oral people.
Okay,
Well, do you want to start us then?
I would love to. Ulbrichtsen's rules of no cursing, drinking, or smoking, but he did all three of them himself.
Yeah.
It makes me think of what standards we've let go of that would be helpful to bring back. Like that was like an old school, like, hey, we're not going to do X, Y, or
Did
Z.
he do those things in front of the boys though?
No. And
no.
he didn't do them.
At least at least when we were
Which I'm
reading.
okay with.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely okay with. But I'm just like, what? It was like, man, that was probably a given at one point in time, and now we're in such a
Well,
be
you know-
yourself, whatever feels right. Like, there's some old standards that I feel like would be hard, like Hard Knocks, right? School of Hard Knocks, old school, but man, so valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I was just watching a woman. I think it was with Jordan Peterson. She was talking about why her kids test so well in schools, and she was like, test so well in comparison to everybody else. And she's like, well, you know, we're disciplining these kids. We're giving them standards. We're holding them to higher standards. Like kids, students, people, like they don't know what's best for them. Right? College kids, we've all been there. Certainly don't know what's best for them. That's why so often I think you'll see like athletes and people who work and have to like do all of these extra things succeed at a
extra
higher
discipline.
level.
Yeah.
Right? Because they have that discipline, they have that structure, they have those specific mentors.
Oh, dude,
they
we-
have things they can't give up.
We
as a
better
result.
give our kids structured things to do with their time.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Have to.
especially somebody in college with all that free time.
Yeah, like they need like a purpose, a thing, right?
Yeah.
They all knew that if Ulbrichtsen caught them,
Ulbrichtsen, by the way, they're
is the coach.
JV and varsity coach. Yep.
They all knew that if they were caught, they were screwed. They were knocked down in the boats.
Right.
In a couple of these guys' cases, they wouldn't be able to even have the part-time jobs that being on the team came with, and they wouldn't.
Right,
be
and
able
it's
to-
not like
they wouldn't be able to keep
Right.
being at college.
even more so than any time for an athlete, the boat was everything to these kids because it wasn't just, well, I'll go to a different school. They were so poor. Like there's one, so there is. What's funny is we picked a book that also has a movie, but the movie just came out.
Yeah.
But there's one depiction in the movie where I don't know if this is actually in the book, but you definitely know this kind of thing happened, where Joe was so poor he had to go to the soup kitchens to get his food.
Yep.
And when he turned down a team dinner because they all have to pay for themselves, so he said, I'm just not hungry. Goes into the soup kitchen to get served, and someone he knows on the team or at the university was serving soup. So he just didn't eat. So he just went home and didn't eat because.
Well, it
you
does
know.
talk about in the book how he was just hungry all the time.
Yeah.
You know, how when he was a kid, he worked in the.
I mean, that's
he-
the major.
he
That's
worked-
one of the major
he
reasons.
Worked in that like mess hall,
Yeah.
right? Specifically so that he could get food. But I mean, I guess to go to your point, yeah. I mean, when I first started, my very first job was not my very first, but one of my first jobs was at Pizza Hut, right? There's a franchisee based in Fort Wayne that had like literally like at least 10 of the top 20 Pizza Huts in the nation.
And they were all in Indiana.
And they were Indiana and Ohio.
Wow.
All small town Pizza Huts.
Most of them.
Dude, small town Pizza Huts, it's genius. They're gigantic. They're really they're over
Yeah.
the tops because they are the nice place for some
Yeah.
of those people to
It
go.
is.
Like,
Yeah.
it's so awesome.
Well, and he did some things differently, but one of the things is that like you couldn't be showing any tattoos, right? So like my wife, who I met there, she has a tattoo on her arm. She had to wear like a wristband, all the time, right? I couldn't have facial hair, right? So if I came in there, and this is high school Marcus, you know, it wouldn't be a problem for Rem even today, but but if I came in there and it even looked like I hadn't shaved that day, they just hand you a razor, and if you didn't go shave, like you're just done, like you're out.
Okay, so
You know?
let's
And I
take
think
those
that
two
standards. Like,
let's take those two for instance though now.
Yeah,
So tattoos and facial hair
yeah,
in the workplace.
yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem if somebody looks like they're on purpose, right? Like there's a very big
That's
difference
my thing,
between
too.
like a tattoo that's clearly well done and that's professional and something that looks like crap or
Yeah.
is inappropriate or whatever.
So I mean, at the restaurant when we have servers, like we have to make the decision: are we allowing on a hot summer's day like tank tops that have the Parks Place logo on it?
Yep.
Because men have hairy, and some women
Yep.
have hairy armpits, and if they're serving and your hairy armpits right there,
Right.
so like you have to almost be okay with double standards in some cases.
At some level, yeah, you probably do, especially if you're trying to hire people.
I think it depends on what the setting is too. Like I'm genuinely, I mean this. These small town Pizza Huts, there are families that this will be like a celebration. They'll take little kids and it's like their big dinner for the week or whatever.
Yeah.
And in some parts of Indiana, that might be a turnoff for that audience. So I think as long as it's a standard that they set ahead of time that you're signing up
and
for,
it's enforced.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but so back to the facial hair. My biggest thing is, do you have a clean neckline? Is it like actually
Exactly.
well kept?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So I'm not
If
going to
it's
make
well
you shave
kept.
your face.
Yeah.
So the only issue with those types of phrases though is now it's like, I don't want to call it subjective. I think we'd all agree. We could look at the same person and go, well kept or not well kept.
Yeah.
Now what do you do? And
So
Well,
anyone
so
can do
that's
that.
that's where you really have to have the love and support and camaraderie of your people. So
Yep.
like I had one kid I was mentoring, and I just had the relationship where I'm like, hey man, can I be brutally honest? Like I want to help you be better. I want you to rise to the ranks. Teach you everything that I've learned. You have got to shave your neckline. Like
Yep.
I'm totally cool with you having facial hair, but if you get on stage next to me, like I want them to be a service and a product people can be proud of. And right now it looks like you just got up and didn't even brush your teeth.
Yeah,
I had to earn the right to say that to him.
yeah,
though.
right.
You know?
Huge.
I was mentoring a rep once at Comcast. This is an adult, and
Right.
where they're going business to business to business, and he was struggling. And one of the first things I told him was, I was like, dude, just clean up a little bit,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you this out of love, but that's
Gosh, man,
like,
so many
like
people.
that's the reality is like
First impressions, man. I had this rep that I was coaching post COVID, franchisee, and he would record his appointments and they were flawless. Like they were perfect. He was good with people. He's saying all the right things, and I could not figure out why he wasn't getting the results.
Yeah.
When I met him at the first conference, like a year or two later, his hand was sopping wet. From anxiety, and he had just gotten off a smoke break outside, so he breathed smoke when he shook my hand. I was like, I get it. Instantly,
Yep.
people are turned off, and they spend the rest of the appointment trying to figure out if they're going to work with this guy or not. That was like a first impression not going well.
We've just gotten so addicted to being nice instead of being kind. And being kind is like, I need to tell this. Like if I truly care and
Got
I love
something in your
this
teeth,
person,
man.
Yeah, I gotta let them know. So that stuck out to me, Marcus. Any moments made you stop and think?
Maybe should we should we split it up a little bit since the book's kind of split up?
Yeah, so explain how it starts, because it's pretty interesting how it goes back and forth between like what's going on
Let's
in
get
Germany.
into. I think there are there 3 parts technically?
Yeah.
Within the
Well,
book.
technically.
So and I'm not
but
saying we
they
memorized
go
it,
back
but-
and forth all the way.
So what
all
would
the way
you guys
through.
call part 1? If we want to stick
Well,
on
I didn't
part
know
1.
if we wanted to like do Joe's life.
Yeah.
And then.
Which
like,
is what's lost in the book
the-
in the movie, by the way. So we were
Completely
talking.
Oh
lost in the
man,
movie.
that's
Yeah.
like that grips everything.
Yeah.
The movie
geez.
compared to the book is like a D.
Yeah.
So
Like,
if you're
it's-
listening, you haven't done either. You gotta.
No,
you
it's not.
gotta
Okay,
watch
so
it.
I've been thinking about this because we said this last time. It's just not the book, is what it is. So a movie
That's
is
true. I
a
don't.
movie.
That's why I said compared to the book. Like
Right.
it's not an awful movie. Like
Right. The
I
movie's
enjoyed
actually really
I
good.
enjoyed the movie. I went and saw the movie with Reed. Reed hasn't
Yeah.
read the book yet. I enjoyed it, but I rewatched the movie this week after reading it, and I was like, gosh, comparatively, it's not even.
Well, I mean, it's 400 pages. So what a movie has to do to be effective, there's
Yeah.
never going to be a movie that captures a 400-page book.
No.
They have to pick literally a tenth and like try to make a movie out of it. So I think movie-wise, they did a good job, but it just does not capture Joe's life.
Yeah. So anyway, so we started off with with those rules and things. I would say that just from an early age, something that really just had me thinking was just how hard it was in this time, right? So, my grandparents would have been born in the 30s, right? They would, or
Yeah.
they would have been born in the 30s, or they were born in the 30s, and my grandpa never. My whole life has like ever spent money on anything, right? Like it's a very, very big deal to him. Still today, just super, super tight. And, I wonder how much of that is because when you're being brought up in this time, just before World War II, just after World War II, like how does that impact the way that you think about just things like scarcity?
It's your DNA. It's your financial DNA. All that. Yeah.
And that really hit me throughout the book when we're talking about Joe and Joe's life. And talk about crazy. Like you hinted on this, but had this mom that he loved and adored, and then she dies. He gets sent to live
pretty
with
early, right?
Yeah. He gets sent to live with a quote unquote aunt and uncle. Right? When he's 4. He's 4.
Yep.
Which makes you think
rides a train by himself.
During this time, was that more normal because of
Life
how
expectancy.
hard life was,
Yeah.
how little opportunity there was in this moment in America as a whole? Like, did that happen? Because I read that and go, how do you do that? Like how do you? And by the way, okay, so we'll do a whole portion on Joe's dad.
Tell me that you didn't resonate.
Oh, dude, it's like. To just get that was weird. That was weird. Like when my mom passed away, my dad and I didn't have the best relationship. He still was fully like ready for me to live with him. Like it was so odd that was the move. There were so many moments where Harry is Joe's dad's name. I'm like, dude, just big L's and soft and not, like you stop feeling bad for him. You start getting pissed off at him.
Yeah, remember when we were texting in the group thread halfway through this book? We're like, man, Harry's a piece of trash.
Oh man. But then, as I've gotten older,
he has his moments, but he is.
He does. And as I've gotten older, I've tried to say, okay, like I could be upset with this person, or I could ask, hey, what happened to them that caused them to be this way now?
Yeah.
Like, what was his dad?
Yeah.
Like, is he actually an improvement?
Right.
On his dad? Like, you just don't know.
He said he went to war at the age of 14.
Yeah.
Like when Joe approaches him, like, I was 14, you left me. He's like, I went to war when I was 14.
Right.
So for him, is it
interesting perspective?
It is. It's definitely a different perspective than any of us would have. Can we still say, man, that's a big L? Yes, probably
and
was.
Completely shaped Joe. So here's one that I will read. Joyce is talking to him at some point. Joyce is who Joe eventually marries.
Meets when he's young.
Young. They get engaged before he goes out to school. And at some point, she is getting frustrated with him because he won't get angry with his dad. Right. And with Tula and with the family and everybody else, right? And he just says, you don't understand, he murmured. They didn't have any choice. There were just too many mouths to feed. In relation to, like, how can you forgive them or not be mad at them for leaving you? Yeah. Literally leaving you. Yeah. To fend for yourself. Multiple
and to give even
times.
More backstory, Tula, Harry's second wife.
Yeah.
Joe is the only child that is not hers. So
that's still in the house.
and she just has it out for him pretty quickly. So to
Yeah.
add even worse circumstances to it.
Partly, and to get back to this whole food thing, because she's not his kid and she's eating them out of house and home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
'cause-
he's eating them out
That's
of
right.
house and home. So she can't even feed her own two kids.
So stepmom is driving this. Joe needs to go.
Yep. She says, I just don't understand why you don't get angry. Joe continued to stare through the windshield. It takes energy to get angry. It eats you up inside. I can't waste my energy like that and expect to get ahead. When they left, it took everything I had just to survive. Now I have to stay focused. I just got to take care of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a really big theme for Joe, right? Because at the end, I don't know that I want to spoil all of it, but at the end, he sits by himself, and during that race, he realized that he had been giving everything that he could, and he had to rely on the other boys.
Well, he doesn't.
Right.
It's not just that he realizes it. He literally is told that he has to in order to remain.
That's right.
This is about the same time where like he's just in his own head and he's just doing terrible, and so the coach literally benches him.
Well, I'm talking about so that happens. He goes. He's on a mission, on a journey the entire time, right? But I think that speaks to like I just have to do everything myself. I can't. He doesn't trust anybody, right? But at the end, and I can find it probably here, but at the end, after they win, everyone goes out and celebrates, and he just sits there.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, like, I found myself. I found what I needed to find with the boys.
Yep.
Which is why it's titled the way it is. I mean, in many ways, this is about Joe and his life, right? But he wanted to make sure that it was about the boys.
And I feel like
it was
it's
about
the
the boys
first
in
time
the
in his
boat.
life he used the word zero doubt in that section that you're talking about. He just felt peace, dude. He was like totally
Exactly.
cool with whatever the result was, and he realized it doesn't matter.
And he trusted the people around him.
Yeah, man.
They were
Huge.
they were all working their best.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just that specific arc I really loved.
Anything else we can learn from Harry's shortcomings as a father? Anything else to highlight? Anything else that like blew you away from those exchanges? Just to, I guess I'll miss some things here and there, but like Harry's first wife dies, young Joe's mom. Joe gets sent away. Joe goes back to Harry. Harry has a new wife, Tula, who is the twin sister of his brother's wife.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
of his son's wife.
His son's wife.
The twin sister of his son's wife.
Of Harry's son's wife. Of Joe's brother.
Joe's brother.
Yep.
17 years younger than him.
Then Tula has many questionable moments around Joe, yelling at Joe, having favorable treatment
Tula
to everybody
really
else.
sucks.
I mean, really, like she comes from high class, and Harry is like,
She never had to do dishes
No,
when
so-
she was a child.
so this is,
Because they thought that she was going to play violin in freaking Germany.
which it
or
turns out
something.
she was really good.
Sure.
Didn't work out. Didn't work out, but she was pretty good.
better be good if they never made her wash dishes and she could just do violin all day.
So then finally, Joe gets home from school one day, and the car's packed up. And this is what's the name of the town? The poorest town they lived in.
Squim?
Squim.
It just sounds like a poor.
It does, man. So they get home, and Joe's, I want to say, is this when he was 14?
14.
Mm-hmm.
He's 14. The car's packed up. All the kids are in there. Tula's in the passenger seat, won't look at him. Joe's dad's on the porch, and he's like, well, son, Tula said we got to go.
You're basically a man now.
Yeah, you're literally just leaves him. The house empty, whatever.
Yep.
And Joe really starts fending for himself, and then, gosh, there's many, many, many more
They
moments.
say they're going to California, right? So they say they're going to California. They last there for like
Yeah.
less than 2 months, and they actually come back and live in Seattle. And they've been in Seattle
didn't
the
tell him.
entire time and did not tell him.
Yeah, and his
Living
brother didn't
miles
tell
away
him
from
either, and his brother knew.
Right.
Which is crazy. In terms of what you learned from Harry, I thought that Harry was like your stereotypical wanted to be his son's friend versus like that guide and mentor and coach. And if you think about all the times that like Joe talked about with his dad that he enjoyed, It was always just them having fun.
Yeah, when they were.
It wasn't. There was no lessons learned
breaking
from
the
his
law
dad.
together.
There was no
Yeah.
anything else. They were just. I mean, they might have done some construction projects and stuff together, but his dad, I thought, just wanted to be his friend, and I think that's something that is actually super prevalent in today's society, where we don't own our authority as parents and our responsibility to be the authority as parents, and we just want to be the friend because it can be uncomfortable to have that authority and that responsibility sometimes.
My mind just kept going back to the integrity regardless of the times, right? So integrity regardless of the times were as bad as they've ever been economically. It's the Great Depression. And the imagery, man, I mean, we've seen Great Depression imagery in history books, but the imagery he uses here, where he's talking about Joe's, at one point he's talking about Joe riding the train back into town to get a job for the summer. And he sees all these men with their families and their entire lives in a suitcase, walking down the mud road. And the way Brown, the author, talks about it, you can see that it's almost like the parallelism of Joe's life turning in a certain direction and what he came from. I mean, it's just wild. And
dude, he's such a good writer.
Yeah,
he's so good. He's so.
I mean,
good.
it just puts you right there. You feel like I would be.
Yes,
I would be there. I would be the poor guy. What would I do?
That's a great way to put it. You really feel like you're just right there in the seats watching. I felt like Harry was trying to. He was so scared to let go of like Tula, which was like the replacement. For his young wife that died, and he prioritized that over Joe. It was almost like
he also prioritized the other kids over Joe because
Joe reminded him
they needed a mother.
I don't know if Joe reminded him of that old life or how perfect it could have been. It just made
who knows?
I don't know, but he literally just decided, you know what, I'm gonna focus on this love at the expense of Joe. Man, it was so gut wrenching to read those parts.
So you were talking about the difference between section 1 and section 2, and in section 1 they're going back and forth every other chapter talking about what's going on in Germany with Hitler slowly starting to put together.
Which was really cool too.
It was because it focused on Goebbels. Is that how you say his
Goebbels.
name? And like the propaganda and the documentaries that he would use. Like if you read, Mein Kampf obviously is Hitler's manifesto, but the actual movie that they shot, Triumph of the Will, I looked to see if you can find that. You know, the ones like
I kind
all
of
the
want to
eerie
see Olympia, by the way, which is the one the woman did that they talked about.
Yeah, I wanted to see it, so I looked up Triumph of the Will. You can't find it streaming. You have to buy it on Amazon, and I don't even know if it's just like snippets of it or what. But like, isn't that wild? Like that's like,
is this America or what?
What's
just
going
crazy
on? To me that like
I can't stream it. You kidding me?
It's like, who's making money? Here's my question, though. Who's making money off of this propaganda film?
Well,
I mean,
this
seriously.
point, it's history.
Well, I know. So why is it not readily available? Like,
I see.
That's my point. But yeah. So anyway, I thought that was.
I mean, it was so interesting. I don't know. I think I paid very, very little attention in most of my classes, especially history, stuff like that. I wish I would have.
It's really surprising.
Been more excited about it. I really do, because like I feel like this is the first time I'm learning a lot of this stuff.
Girl sat next to you in social studies class?
There was two priorities. There were two priorities: sports and ladies. Yeah. It was. I did not realize how much of a slow play this was. Yeah. How much a long term. Like they viewed this Olympics as like, hey, this is our chance to gain as long of a leash as possible from the rest of the world. We need to play nice for a couple months, put all of our resources into this, and they did.
It was literally a show.
They crushed it.
Yeah.
I mean, as horrible as that sounds, they crushed it.
Well, that's what's so fascinating is he pulled it off.
I was listening. So Malcolm Bugado was doing a miniseries on Hitler's Olympics. I guess the Olympics were, before this Olympics, were kind of like a joke, like not taken seriously, like almost like a I don't want to say like a sub tier WWF is coming to town sort of thing, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Hitler reset the tone of what the Olympics were for all the wrong reasons, but then that just carried.
It's interesting.
Afterward, it's
that would be an
nuts.
interesting study, is the history of the Olympics and where it
Oh,
came
I'm
from,
so
'cause
excited to learn more about it. So
Yeah.
it's so they just saw it as an opportunity of we are going to completely hoodwink every other nation in the world and then do all these horrible things. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy to me. Joe, all the crazy things that they did growing up made me think, and I'm sure you guys agree. The example I'll use is him and his little brother tumbling down the mountains in a go-kart when they were living on the it was like a
Yes,
rock.
that was awesome.
I don't know if my girls have ever done anything that dangerous, but I really wish they would. I really wish they would.
I will
What
say
do you
I'm
think of the
definitely getting
greenhouse
to the
effect?
point where like I'm totally fine letting
Dude,
my kids do more and more like dangerous things.
it's so, and I want to be that safety net when they need it, but man, they need to do some scary stuff. My girls are not.
How do you put it? Raising them in a greenhouse effect, or
Oh
like-
yeah, Dave Seibel had a school at our kids' school, which I'm sure you got it from somewhere else. It's a greenhouse, controlled exposure.
yeah,
It's a greenhouse. They're exposed, but controlled exposure.
yeah. I mean, the fear is that they actually really hurt themselves, and
Yeah.
you know,
Man, I mean, can you guys think of what are
yeah,
some-
but literally every book we've every book that we've read
yeah,
so far,
that's what shapes
that's
some
been
awesome
a massive
people.
part of their. That's been a massive part of their childhood. Right?
Craziest thing,
And you think about my childhood, like I was out in freaking cornfields, you know,
Yeah.
and every neighbor that I had knew who my parents were and had the phone number and everything else. But like, we were jumping off of buildings.
Oh yeah,
I was touching electric fences, like daring people.
I ripped half my
shooting-
nipple off while riding BMX, like jumping hills and stuff. Yeah,
shooting BB guns.
you know you
and
can do
stuff.
that. It grows
Oh,
back.
totally.
if you're
Honestly, one
wondering.
of the biggest problems is these
yeah.
phones.
You just kind of
the
Marcus just went right past that.
phones and kids that kids
Yeah.
have like.
Not enough
like,
creativity.
What's funny is that at our house we don't let the other kids, bring their phones. And it's fascinating to me because they still keep coming. Like they still keep coming over. They want to
probably
be at
having
our
a blast.
house, clearly.
Probably have more
but
fun when they're not heading the phone.
but they're not allowed to have those phones.
do you guys remember any particular instances when you did something dangerous that really hurt, and it's like a core memory?
Yeah.
Like I set up this. This is a core memory I have. I set up this 2 cinder blocks and this piece of wood that was a trap door of some sort, and I set it up on the cinder blocks, and it was right after I got my BMX bike. I can't remember how I was, like 10, 11 years old.
Yep.
And I would go off of it, and then every time I'd get a little bit more confidence, I put another cinder block underneath it to make it go higher. Well, one particular time I went off the corner, and it wasn't nailed in or anything, so it completely flipped up and flipped my back wheel off, and I landed sideways right on the side of my head and my ear. And I like couldn't hear out of my ear for like an hour. And I thought, I was like, this is going to alter my life. This is who I am now, right? And it hurt so bad. I've never forgotten that.
Dude, I got a new mountain bike once, and I had never had brakes that worked quite that well.
Use the
Speaking
front
of-
ones.
And-
Use the front ones pretty
And
quickly.
the like trick bike or whatever that I had only had a front brake, right? So it only had the one on the left. So
Yeah.
that's what my habit was
Yeah.
to do that. And we lived on a dirt road. Okay, so we're riding our bikes back. We used to ride down to the stop sign, half a mile away.
Oh, dude,
You know,
you
so-
saying that triggered memories. of-
we ride down there. We're riding back on my brand new bike, and I'm like, hey, look how fast this thing brakes. Boom! I flip over, helmet, like we were going fast. Flip over, just go flying in the air, and hit my helmet. My helmet cracked.
Yeah.
Dude,
It's a good
I
helmet.
would've
It's supposed
No,
to.
died.
time out. Rem and I know I did. As soon as you said helmet, I'm like, you were wearing a helmet? Never worn a helmet in my life.
Kathy Mangus.
Kathy Mangus' son right there. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Did I want to ride a bike? Yes, I did.
I had 2 things came to mind. One of them was a bike situation, big hill. I lost control and totally wiped out, and the neighbor had to clean me up. Second thing was we were probably 12 or 13. I'm from Elkhart. 12 and 13-year-olds smoke cigarettes in Elkhart. So
Were you one of those?
I definitely tried. So I had never inhaled a cigarette, and I was like 12, and I had puffed on a cigarette. My friend was like, "Dude, you're not even inhaling," and I'm like, probably 12, 13, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You're not breathing anything." I'm like, "All right, whatever." So then he's watching, and I actually inhaled. I feel like I blacked out and coughed for a minute and a half, and I was like, he's like, "That's inhale." I'm like, "Oh, got it." So we're starting a fire in the woods, not our woods. And it's all these dry leaves, and we're like, "Well, this fire's getting big. This is cool." And we're like, "Oh, this fire's getting really high." It's like, "Oh, this fire's about to
the tree.
This fire's about to hit that tree." We're stomping on it. We're throwing clothes on it. Whatever. We got it calmed down a bit, but we almost burned down an entire woods.
Oh, I've got plenty of fire stories.
I mean, I think this session could keep going on and on.
So
But,
anyway-
like, that's the point. Like, you got to let your kids go.
We do. We're all fine. We worked
Let
out.
them play with fire and no helmets. Do your kids wear helmets?
Oh, yeah.
My kids do wear helmets, but they're girls, Marcus. Last piece on Harry.
got canceled.
Hey, I have
We just got
cracked
canceled by the
I have
feminists.
cracked 2 helmets.
By the way, they're supposed to crack. Like if they don't crack, because like that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, some of them make like these impenetrable helmets. Well, that actually gives you more concussions. Like
Sorry,
they're supposed
guys.
to crack.
It's like
I rode my bikes fast. Okay?
Yeah,
I don't know
okay.
about you guys.
It's
Yeah.
like a glass cutting board.
Is-
You want it to see. You want to see.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So here's my last point on Harry. I made this note. Men, fathers, husbands have to be willing and prepared to make really tough decisions that are the right ones. Harry over and over again shows the wrong way and just decided to be weak. Here's the twist, though. We are all much more like Harry than our Heavenly Father. And if we put too much stock in anyone besides him, we're going to be disappointed, including our children. They'll be disappointed too. So I think as easy it is for me to be like, Harry's a loser, that sucks. Like, I have way more Harry moments than I want to admit.
Sure.
I can see that. No, I mean not like you. I was being genuine. Like,
That's his
yeah.
nieces you're talking about.
Section 2. We got Joe's life. What would you call next section?
the crew.
I think so.
That's basically.
Yeah,
and so
I
what's,
think so.
And here's what's lost in the movie is that the movie basically says, here's Joe, here's the crew. They have one epic race, and then he has to decide, am I going to put the younger kids in varsity and switch
For
them?
Poughkeepsie.
And then
Yeah.
and then he ends up doing it. And this is the problem with a short movie, like a 2-hour movie. You can't really go because the truth
movie
of the matter
starts in 1936.
Right, it starts
where
after
this is a
Joe's already
3-year thing.
Joe's 19 or 18 at the time. So and
I
part,
so don't want to see the movie. I know you're saying
no,
it's
you
still
should
a good
you should
movie.
watch. It's a good movie. It's a good
Yeah,
movie.
it's
It's
a
just
good movie.
you know
Just
you'll know
have
the
your
backstory.
expectations in the right spot.
Yeah. So what actually happens is Joe and the freshman crew, they have probably call it 10 to 12 races between schools, between different sides of the country, East Coast versus West Coast.
Not even.
And then they have like a bunch of different times where he's going back and forth. Which team am I actually going to take to see who is going to crew to win, just to see who can go to the Olympics? Who can beat Cal, who was like the reigning champ, probably going to the Olympics, to go to the Olympics. And so that's what's lost in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I loved the way that the crew, A, was pushed, B, just had to come together. There's an element of, do you guys remember, conditioning?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Hell Week.
yeah, it just sucks.
Yeah.
We would start for soccer. We would not touch a ball for an entire week.
Yeah.
For the
What
first
was
week.
your what was the I know there was probably a time you had to be under what for a mile to be able to make the team. What was
I don't
your-
know what we had to be under a mile, but we had 5 seniors. By junior and senior year, we had every single team had 5 people breaking 5 minutes for a mile. Oh wow! My fastest mile was like 4:50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, conditioning's no joke.
Yeah.
Absolutely no joke.
I mean,
Two
the
days.
average-
Well, tennis conditioning was a joke.
Was it really?
It was, yeah, totally. But
So what conditioning did you do? Basketball?
basketball. Yeah, basketball.
Tennis was a fall or spring sport when you played.
Fall.
So it was
What-
right after summer.
Yeah,
Do you think any of us would have road crew if we had the opportunity?
I would have been a coxswain.
That's true.
Uh,
That's true.
So
how much did that kid weigh?
I
He
actually
weighed-
think that like that kind of thing is exactly what I would be very good at.
Wait, it's a leadership role. It's not
Big
just a,
Bobby
it's not,
Mock fan.
It's not
Yeah,
just.
I was.
Oh yeah.
Bobby
I love
Mock
Bobby
fan.
Mock.
He's great. He's
Yeah.
great in the movie too. But like,
is really good in the movie.
There's not.
You know
there-
that was an actor.
no, as like his
The
character,
guy
the way he
guy-
plays him.
It was.
Can I read
Carry
something
on.
real quick just about? Can I read this about?
Hold on,
these-
before you read
the
this, I
sport
want to
in general?
define what the coxswain was. He
Yeah.
was the guy at the front of the boat that was actually controlling where the boat went, not only physically, but he was also keeping time and shouting out
So wait,
commands.
He's managing the race.
Dude, would you call it the back or the front?
He's
in-
I
he's
guess
in
it's
the
the
back.
back.
He's the back of the boat, looking
He's
forward.
Looking forward.
He's got the
What I
rudder.
didn't realize,
He's
Controlling
got
the
the
rudder.
rudder.
he's the only one that knows
The direction.
where the
Yeah,
I-
100%.
Oh my gosh, so awesome! So you're
Yeah.
rowing the entire time, no idea. He's literally your eyes, ears,
Yeah.
everything. Like this. Yeah.
Yeah,
think
you've
about
gotta
rowing,
have your
like-
be in the boat,
Yeah.
dude. This rowing, this just jumped off the page at me if we're talking about.
Oh,
the
you're gonna
team.
steal my quote.
And well, this is like a page, so if you want to take some of it, you can. But page 39 here, I'm gonna start at the bottom, and then
This is mine. This is my favorite.
This is
One of my favorite two parts.
This is incredible, and the movie like opens with this as well, by the way.
Right.
But it says when you row, the major muscles in your arms, legs, and back, particularly the quadriceps, triceps, biceps, deltoids, latissimus dorsi, abdominals, hamstrings, and gluteal muscles, do most of the grunt work, propelling the boat forward against an unrelenting resistance of water and wind. At the same time, scores of smaller muscles in the neck, wrists, hands, and even feet continually fine-tune your efforts, holding the body in a consistent equipoise in order to maintain the exquisite balance necessary to keep the 24-inch wide vessel roughly the width of a man's waist
24-inch wide.
I know, on an even keel. The result of all of this muscular effort on both the larger scale and the smaller is that your body burns calories and consumes oxygen at a rate that is unmatched in almost any other human endeavor. Physiologists, in fact, have calculated that rowing a 2,000-meter race, the Olympic standard, by the way, nothing close to their normal race, which is like 2, 3, 4 miles.
Well, yeah, it was
Right.
2 miles
Right.
as freshman.
2,000-meter race, the Olympic standard takes the same physiological toll as playing 2 basketball games back-to-back, and it exacts that toll in about 6 minutes.
All right, I'm going to take over because this is where my quote actually begins. This is what I think is fascinating.
This is fascinating, too.
A well-conditioned oarsman or oarswoman competing at the highest levels must be able to take in and consume as much as 8 liters of oxygen per minute. On an average male is capable of taking roughly 4 to 5 liters at most. Pound for pound, Olympic oarsmen may take in and process as much oxygen as a thoroughbred racehorse.
Mm-hmm.
Nuts.
Isn't that wild?
By the way,
And this is all 8 of them, by the way.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
first
Not
time
the
I read the
coxswain,
book,
which is what I would do.
the first time I read the book, you'll remember this, Ram. The first time I read the book, I was like 8 chapters in. I bought a rowing machine.
Oh, really?
I literally bought a rowing machine. It's the
That's
ultimate
crazy.
workout, dude. It is,
That's
and it. By the
funny.
way, there's no way it's good for all your joints and muscles and all
No
that. Like,
chance.
It's the most like it. But it.
You think
it-
so? I mean, some widely regarded.
I mean, your back. I don't. You should be.
You
doing
have
that.
to do it right.
Okay,
gotta-
that's also true.
You got to have the right form.
But it is the ultimate like cardio anaerobic, like it plus muscle, like it's
Well, so here's where the psychological implications of what's going on around you come into play.
Yeah.
Because like if you've got wind and there's waves, you're going to go to row and you're going to sometimes row air because your oar's out of the water, right? So then you have to figure out on your next rotation, you got to get the water, and everyone around you is doing the same
The
exact
exact
thing,
same thing.
right? So like
you're all adjusting to everybody else who's
yes,
adjusting. Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
Dude, this is a sport.
It
Oh,
is.
I wrote down
This is incredible.
I wrote down question, ultimate team sport.
Oh, I think so.
Hard to argue against.
You mean
Yeah,
you mean
you know-
like the number one ultimate?
like is it the ultimate where like literally it is a team, you literally cannot have one standout star, everybody affects everybody.
Well, see, this is why the argument for football is so funny to me because the defense literally cannot impact the offense. They're on the field at different times. So
well,
do you think
that's why I mean,
do you think that makes it the ultimate, or do you think that's a negative aspect?
Well,
of
no,
football?
I mean, I think that like having to rely on people, like you can't control what they're doing at all.
So you think that makes it the ultimate?
But
team
have
sport?
there been
and
have
like,
there been
if any one person
have there been
isn't doing their
teams
job.
that have had a bottom half of the league defense win a Super Bowl?
Colts?
Okay, then I think it's
Actually,
not,
I don't know if we weren't the
that's
bottom
not.
half. We definitely were in the bottom half, but it wasn't as good.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, there's a star quarterback that can make up.
I
for
will
a lot
say
of other
quarterback does make a big difference. It sounds like the stroke or, right? That first
Don
person,
Hume?
Don
Eight.
Hume.
Yep.
It's technically the 8th position is what they call it.
Okay, whatever the one closest to the coxswain
8.
is.
Yeah.
That
Joe was
one,
7.
it does sound like
Yep.
makes a massive difference. They do each have a part to play.
Why is it that number 7, the number, I guess in this case, the second guy from the coxswain is the one who sets the pace? Do they explain that? So like technically the 8 is like not even the pacemaker. 7 is.
No, Hume. Well, wherever Hume was sitting is
The
who
first
was,
one, the first
yeah.
position next to the coxswain?
Yeah, that's the
Maybe
stroke.
I misunderstood
That's the
that.
stroke or.
Okay.
Joe was not the stroke or.
So he was the power behind the stroke
Yep,
oar?
because
Okay.
in that last race,
Bobby
Hume,
almost
Hume
tells
is, Hume
Joe.
is like dead basically,
because
and,
he's got food
and then
poisoning or
all of a
something.
sudden snaps up and it's like, okay, we're going, you know,
Yeah.
because he was gonna tell Joe, we got to go, and he didn't.
I
want to
know how fast I read the last race because I could not have listened fast enough.
Oh, no
Like
joke.
the last
No,
race,
dude.
I'm
No joke. I remember
dude,
that.
I'm like, oh, let's go.
I remember annoying Kelsey because I'm like, oh, come on. Like every 2 pages, I'm like, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. And I'm just like reading it out loud. And like,
I do that too when I'm reading to the kids, and it's like really exciting.
Yeah.
Like I was reading a Quidditch match last night to read in Harry Potter, and I was like going crazy.
yeah.
It really helps that I know that book really well too, because I can really fly.
I think ultimate team sport
could be. That
definitely
could be
has
right.
a vote. Or I would not be upset with anybody voting that way. Just the amount of athletic, to your guys' point that you just
Timing.
read. Well, and then like I think Pocock, I would love
Ugh.
if he wrote a book I haven't looked up. I would
Okay.
love to read it.
Well, he basically
we haven't
did
even talked
write a
about
book with
Pocock
all
yet.
these quotes that they have in
Exactly.
here.
So we haven't even talked about Pocock yet.
Tell us about Pocock. What's
So
Pocock's background?
here's what's wild about this. I think we talked about this last week a little bit, but he is the guy that essentially builds the best boats in the entire
Yep.
world. Now,
I think 17 of the 18 boats at the Poughkeepsie race were Pocock.
were made by him. So both in the stories, the two we're gonna tell you could at least sit.
Marcus couldn't wait. He had to go to the bathroom.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Pocock is working out of Washington at the
Yes.
time. This is
Yeah.
what's wild to me. So he's
I think he
making-
always did. I don't think that ever changed.
He did.
Yeah.
You know, you're right. Because at one point they're like, hey, he is the clear-cut choice for the head coach for the Washington program.
Yep.
And he basically said, I'm bowing out. This is
Yep.
my what I'm meant to do. And I'll read the quote that I think is just so powerful that explains who he is.
I love the beginning of every chapter starts with a Pocock.
Basically
quote.
a Pocock quote. So George Yeoman Pocock, my ambition has always been to the greatest shell builder in the world, and without false
To be
modesty,
the greatest shell builder.
what I say, has always been to be the greatest shell builder in the world, and without false modesty, I believe I have attained that goal. If I were to sell the stock, I fear I would lose my incentive and become a wealthy man, but a second-rate artisan. I prefer to remain a first-class artisan.
Incredible.
Isn't that great? So
Yeah.
here's this guy who's building these boats and selling them to competitors all over the world while working at Washington. And they know this,
Yep.
and they continue to buy from him because they know his integrity.
Dude, the amount. I was just gonna say that I strive to have the integrity that he has in working with all these different teams, making the best possible shell. The seriousness he takes it, like he
While
just,
still rooting for Washington and
dude, he's
and
all about it,
cheering
man.
those guys
The
on.
Yeah.
way he handled Kai Ebright, the coach at Cal
Cal.
Yeah.
Berkeley,
Yeah.
was
when they're
just,
writing letters back and forth.
Oh my god! When Kai's basically saying, "Well, it's not fair. You're helping the so and so boys. I think you're giving us subpar stuff." Like
Shells.
he just handles it with so much humility and but never backs down. But just
No, he basically says, hey, listen, no one else feels this way, and everyone's continuing to order boats from me. So get
Pay
in
the
line.
price or don't.
Yeah, get in line.
Yeah.
Because I won't have enough time to build you a boat if you keep on dragging.
Well, it
your
was
feet.
cool though when the depression really, really hit, and there weren't a lot of orders coming in. He did not lower his standards,
Right.
Even though Kai asked him to. And then when everybody's buying boats again, he's like, "Dude, if you don't order a boat soon,
That's right.
you're gonna be out of luck." I would love to meet the guy, man. It's so awesome hearing about him.
Yeah, Pocock was awesome.
And I would say, I don't know, would you guys argue? It doesn't say it. Do you think he's the reason that Ulbrichtsen puts Joe back in the main boat?
Yeah.
I mean, the conversation they have is really
essentially-
Clearly,
powerful.
Pocock has his eye on him. Clearly, he's like, obviously, he creates a relationship with Joe. He tries to help him. He sees something that he's like, man. And then obviously, Ulbrichtsen's asked him a lot. I think if I were to guess, that is what happened.
Yeah. Now remember though, and I hate to be like a skeptic here, this is through Joe's eyes.
That's true.
So Daniel James Brown finds
Most
Joe
of this-
Rance
most of
and
this was
interviews
through
him
Joe.
for this book.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's
like,
true.
It's kind of like the Gospel of John. You know, one of the disciples ran faster to the tomb, kind of thing.
Are you saying this is the last dance and everybody's pissed at MJ after?
No, I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
No, I think if
He has
it-
access to multiple journals, multiple diaries, right?
True.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I don't want to discount
they all
anything.
died by the time this
But
came
Joe
out.
is his main source of stories
for this. Yeah. So Joe definitely, you know, I doubt he embellished because like it is supported by the news clippings and all that kind of stuff too. But it makes you wonder.
No, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it makes sense
Well, it's
why
through,
we have the
much of it
perspective
is
we do.
through Joe's eyes for sure.
Right.
Like no doubt about that.
Man, Daniel Brown does an amazing job of writing it through not
through
Joe's eyes, if that makes
Right.
sense. Like
Yeah.
he oh my gosh.
for sure,
Dude,
no doubt about it.
Amazing. More crew, he ends up getting that year where he's not in the main boat. I want to say it's the majority of his junior year, the year of the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the JV boat.
He's in the JV boat. No, I mean
That's not the year of the Olympics though.
Sophomore.
Is it his? No. Freshman year they
Oh,
win.
yeah, you're right.
Sophomore
No, yeah.
year he runs JV and
then junior
and then
year.
junior year is Olympics.
Oh, you're saying the year.
Junior
okay.
year is
I'm
Olympic
just
year.
saying, like
Yeah.
he really like he starts to realize it wasn't just being in the best boat; it was those guys,
Right.
Yes.
my friends, like those.
Yes.
Well, because at the beginning of the season, he says, "Hey, disregard what boat you're in. I'm just shaking things up to see how you do."
At the beginning of the Olympic season, 1936. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge. I mean, that was huge. Well, since we've been talking about the guys, we gotta hit on this.
Ulbrichtsen is catching fire a lot of this book because now it turned out that they won. They went to the Olympics and won. Now, had he not, like, there's a moment where he's like, I could be wrong. And if he was wrong, we wouldn't be reading about him at all. He would have been fired the season before because he put JV as the varsity boat for an entire year.
Putting that JV boat in there for Poughkeepsie, even though they were getting beat.
Yeah, and they won. But if they wouldn't have, like, how many stories do coaches go out on a limb, do something like that, and then get fired and we don't read their book? I mean, it's got to be extremely high.
So that boat performed so differently based on like who they were racing against, right? I think they were very intimidated by the older boys that year. And that was right. Wasn't that the whole thing about their horrible times?
I mean,
Like in practice?
they could not.
practice,
They
touch-ups.
definitely
They couldn't consistently beat the older guys.
The older team for sure was in their heads.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Um,
no doubt about it.
And Bobby Mock would have been the coxswain of that team.
Yeah, at
I
the
believe.
time.
So,
This
but
is-
when you
this
think
is
about
sophomore
it,
year,
how
not junior
important
year.
the coxswain is, like switching that out was an absolute game changer. Like
Totally.
I feel like to your point, a lot of the book it feels like Ulbrichtsen is getting
Don Hume and Bobby Mock.
there. I mean,
they were the MVPs.
Mm-hmm.
gosh, how many times do you have that much talent and you don't get it right? Like, and he had the balls to go out there and be wrong. Like,
Well, and
that's
Don
huge.
Hume
Right.
was a year younger, by the way. So they
Right.
had this incredible freshman boat. The sophomore year, they go back and forth between being the best and being not. The next year, they said, we're shaking this up completely. I thought that was Ulbrichtsen's move. Right? For him, everything was, we got to put the best boat out there, even though these guys have been together.
Yep.
And with the team sport like it is, I think this is really tough.
Man, and it's
Like,
not just the 8 best guys. It's not.
No, it's how does it fit together?
That's why
actually reminds
sometimes-
me a lot of like what Painter's going through right now at Purdue. You know, like I mean, I know you guys will laugh at me, but like he's got so many different people that.
You got a friend of Nick's.
He had like a 5-star recruit that just left because he couldn't
Fit him in
he
the
told
team?
the 5-star recruit he's like or Cannon Catchings, right? He basically just said he's like, well, like if you come into practice and win, you'll start. But
Right.
you're
Good
not
for
gonna.
him, though.
But you're not
That's-
gonna.
that's
But
George-
I can't.
that's
But I
pro
can't
cock
guarantee
standards.
that you're gonna start.
That's
you
why
know?
you see over and over. I mean, the NBA is a great example, but you see
Oh, yeah.
the teams with the best players don't win. It's the teams with the best teams that win
Tank
year
teams,
after year.
yeah. But like Hume was younger, right? He came in there. Bobby Mock was a year older. It was really 3 guys from that initial freshman boat that went undefeated all throughout, which is pretty.
What
incredible.
question are we on? Because I'm really anticipating the boat ride over, the journey over to the Olympics and how wild that whole scene was.
So relatable.
Relatable.
Relatable. What made you stop and think?
That's where
We're literally on the first question.
what's the question orders?
I don't
these
know
days?
if we're even doing questions anymore. By the
best
way,
quotes. Best quotes. Hidden gems is going to be a huge. I think that's a
that's
hidden
that's
gem,
a boat
personally.
one. Yeah,
So I guess last thing I have
we've been
for
hitting on quotes pretty good.
for Bobby Mock,
It's gonna be a 2-hour episode.
he's
Yeah, it is.
amazing. He's always thinking. One of my favorite moments was him knowing how to not. I don't want to say manipulate, but like
Lead.
him lead and saying, "Hey, give me 20," and
Yes.
then 20 stroke, 19, 18, 17, 16, and then when they got to 15,
He kept
he'd say
going
20,
Yeah.
because he knew they'd give more.
Yep.
That was so. I was just in amazement of all the math he
It
does in
is
his
not
head.
surprising at all how successful Bobby Mock was in his career.
Yeah.
By the way,
And what did
Yeah.
he end up doing? Do you
he was a
remember what?
lawyer.
Yeah.
He was a coach.
Yeah, he coaches at MIT
Well,
maybe.
he was a coach with Washington at first, then went and coached at MIT,
MIT.
while getting his law degree at Harvard.
Yes.
Became like one of the most successful lawyers in Seattle, according to the book.
What's crazy is like, do you know how much he weighed? And like, he was 5'7", and I think they said 115.
Well, because he got some crazy like pneumonia or something when he was young, and it stunted all of his growth.
But
I believe.
115 pounds. You
Yeah.
guys are both
Dude,
5'6", 5'7".
Listen, when I was in college, when I was a freshman in college, I might have weighed 130.
But okay, but even still, that's 15 pounds lighter.
could've done
115 pounds.
Yeah.
As a college
He was a
man.
little guy.
I mean, he's smaller than me. I mean,
That's
I'm
crazy.
5'9". Okay, jeez.
Are you really 5'9"?
Yeah.
I'm 5. I think I'm 5'8".
You
Proud
might
of
be
you
a little
guys.
shorter
I'm
than
proud of
me.
you guys. Keep working on
Uh,
it.
Let's get into
I'm
quotes.
just growing out.
Lots of quotes. I actually started a section of my notes that says words we need to bring back.
Ooh,
So
Coxswain?
that's a good
I'll-
one.
I'll
Do some words we need to bring back.
I'll give you some words.
Coxswain.
Yeah.
Molly Cuddles was used by Ulbrichtson.
Molly Cuddle.
Is that like grab ass?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're jacking around. Stop. Too many Tolo dates. Don't even know what the heck that means, but I liked it
Tolo
from
dates.
Tolo
Not
dates.
looking it up. Sounds good
yeah.
to me.
More quotes. Rem, what do you got? Quotes.
I was just about to say I'm about to pull a Marcus and you come to me because I got to use the restroom.
Dude, I was so surreptitious in my going. I was listening. I was ready to jump back in.
So
you guys called me
To your
out.
point about it being from Joe's perspective, when Daniel James Brown asked him if he can write the book, Joe goes, "I would like that, but not just about me, about the boat."
About the boat.
The boat is like it's the boys, it's the team, it's not just
100%.
the boat. What else?
Like, I've already shared a couple of mine. Oh, MIB?
Mind in boat.
Mind in boat.
Mind in boat.
Yeah, I liked that. I did love that Bobby Mock had all of those like extra sayings that
Oh,
meant
dude,
stuff.
so cool. And the ones that made fun of the other boats, the ones that kind of dug at a reporter, I think at one point.
Yeah.
So good. That stuff matters though. Like it's those little things that are stupid that really, really matter. The shell that the freshman had to learn to row in, I forget the name of it, But a quote from one of the rowers said, "If you wanted the boat to ride even, you had to part your hair in the middle and split your chewing tobacco evenly on both sides."
Yeah. I didn't write down very many quotes, but I've shared.
Well, you
I've
saw
shared
our
some
quotes
big passion.
already.
Yeah, I've done some.
George
quotes.
Pocock from his father. He said, "No one will ask you how long it took to build it. They will only ask who built it."
I think you could put any George. Every chapter starts with a George Pocock.
It shaped everything.
And they were perfect quotes for those chapters too. I mean, it is incredible. The writing is superb.
So I have to. So speaking of Pocock quotes and all this, so so I own a magazine, Real Producers. I haven't really talked about it much on this show, but I created it 10 years ago, and our revenue comes from our partners, and so. I have 6 partners that advertised with me from the beginning.
Wow.
So at our 10-year awards banquet at the beginning of this year, I was looking.
Isn't that called the Remy's?
The Remy's, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
After my
What's that
unborn
named
son.
after?
My unborn son. So we have.
Wouldn't that be?
I believe in birth and conception, but that's fine. Let's keep going.
Anyway, so I'm in a trophy shop, and I am looking for some like unique things to, especially give to an award of loyalty to people, these businesses who have now been with me over 100 issues. Yeah, and so it's 100 issues of loyalty, and I found in the corner this glass crystal rowboat trophy.
Nice.
And it is awesome, and it hit me immediately. And I went to the lady and I was like, "How many of these do you have?" And she goes, "That's on the shelf where there's only one of them made." And I was like, "Here's the problem: I need 6 of these." And so, long story short, I got 6 of them made. And
you
so
got George Pocock to make 6.
Yeah, I did. I should have. No, so what I did was
cooler,
I got 6 of these. I got 6 of them made, and I called it the Boys in the Boat trophy.
Nice.
And I gave every single one of those 6 people a copy of Boys in the Boat with an inscription on the front, and just told them how much I appreciated them because they are the Boys in the Boat. They are my team. And so I gave a 6-minute speech that I cried through the entire thing at this event, the awards banquet. And it was like, honestly, I mean, I've given the trophies away and I've awarded, like, nothing meant more to me than the Boys in the Boat trophy.
That's really cool. I should do something like that.
It is cool. It's cool to gift stuff like that means so much to you, to show people like how much they mean to you.
Yeah.
Did any of them come to you afterwards like, "So Rem, I've been meaning to talk to you about re-upping"?
Yeah. 3 of them didn't renew.
You just made this really awkward for both
What's
of us.
funny is Kelsey. So Kelsey's on stage giving them these, and I was like, "Hey, there's an order to these," and she didn't hear me, so she's giving all the wrong books to the wrong people, and they're like reading these sentimental words that's supposed to go to somebody else.
Way to go, Kelsey.
We love you. All right, last Pocock for me. He's talking to Joe about how he likes a really, really quiet workshop.
Yeah.
And he says craftsmanship required thought, and thought required a quiet environment. That's his reasoning for not using power tools. He used only handmade things to make all the shells. I just thought, dude, I just want to be George Pocock.
I mean, there's a lot of imagery, like biblical imagery. I mean, he's a carpenter, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the cool parts, like you mentioned, how this book should be gifted to leaders and to business owners. Mm-hmm. Every one of his quotes, like here's another one to start chapter 17. To see a winning crew in action. That's 3 for 3. 3 for 3. Dude. And it's every time I start to talk. I can't keep it together. This is what happens when we do a 2-hour-long episode. And that's definitely a stream that's loud enough to get into this show.
I was being quiet.
Oh my gosh. You got all right. This is a sentimental part of the show too. All right. So the quote is this: "To see a winning crew in action is to witness a perfect harmony."
You can't do it.
Can't do it with that in the background. Oh, this is taking me back to Mexico circa 2010.
I was going to ask if we should do the shower.
I didn't know champagne and orange juice and cheese for 23 people. Stat, Miguel.
You can stay too. All right. To see a winning crew in action is to witness a perfect harmony in which everything is right. That is a formula for endurance and success, rowing with the heart and head as well as physical strength.
Yeah,
so all his quotes
incredible
are coming from him building these boats and talking about racing, but really they're just leadership quotes and beating your craft. Like him building, you think about this in your jobs and him building a boat. There's a lot of the amount of time it takes to build a single boat, especially when you're one guy, is hours upon hours of sanding and whittling and things that
and being on balance.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And you're thinking to yourself, sometimes you catch yourself doing these meaningless tasks you think are meaningless tasks that really create, perfection. It creates a better product than the other guy.
Yeah.
And so you have to remind yourself that there's going to be things in literally every job that you're doing, every task that you're doing, that you're probably going to have a moment where you're like, I'm above this, I'm better than this isn't worth my time, something to that effect.
Yep.
And there's so many leaders ahead of us that tell us that that's really just not true.
Dude,
when you don't do
profound.
those things well,
right,
it shows up later, and it's not like immediately at all. It's 12 months later, and you're so screwed.
Yeah, and you're not going to identify in that moment, man, I should have spent, another hour or two sanding that boat.
Lessons to be learned in any job, so many profound moments. Hearing him talk to Joe about the wood and the strategy and all this, it's just like, dude, really, that's available in any of our vocations that we're going after. Hidden gems. Pocock just shared one there from Rem.
I'll give you a hidden gem.
Please go for it.
So Joe had to go work in the summer times, in between, right? I loved the summer that he went and worked on the dam.
Yeah,
and he was like, oh, that job pays 75 cents an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you have to
Hanging off of a freaking cliff with a jackhammer.
Yeah.
Right. Like, again, these people.
But he said he got the job. There was two jobs, and that one paid more. And he said he got it because he said, "I'm a collegiate."
It's basically like as soon as he took his shirt off, he was like, "Yeah, okay, you win."
Yeah.
I would be the opposite.
It's like who's the player in the NFL that did that with Pete Carroll?
DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf takes his shirt off.
And then Pete Carroll takes his shirt off.
Pete Carroll takes his shirt off.
Anyway. The thing that I want to make sure doesn't get lost is that he grew close to two people who also were working there, and they grew close because not only were they working together, but they ended up like rooming together, basically going out on the town together, spending just all of the extra hours.
Roger Morris was one of them, right?
Together. No, because Roger was in the boat with him. I think. It was two guys. I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, this is before Joe gets put back into the original. So I don't.
Well, it was two people that were in essentially.
They weren't in the same boat at that time.
Quote unquote rival Washington boats.
Yeah.
Right. And this is before they come back for the Olympic season.
Yep.
But what it talks about is when he's hanging there, off of the side of this thing and using the jackhammer, they had to trust each other. They had to work on a team.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the beginning, I think, of him really understanding it's not just about me, because that's why they couldn't figure Joe out, right? Is he was always just rowing as hard as he could, and he's rowing for himself.
Yep.
He was rowing so that he could make it through college.
Yep.
He was rowing so that he could marry Joyce. He was rowing so that he could have a life for himself. It's the same thing as he was out foraging, or he was out playing the instruments for money, or whatever it was.
Which is, again, the whole concept of good, not great.
Yeah, he was doing that. But then as he's hanging there, they had to watch out for things falling off of the cliffs, right? And they had to be able to tell each other, even though it's super loud. They had to communicate back and forth. They had to trust. He learned a lot about that, and then he was able to open up to those other guys that were on the team that weren't in that original freshman crew.
Right.
And I think that made a big difference for Ulbrichsen and his team long term, is the way that those guys had to work that summer. So
that was
Jim for me.
That was the missing link. Was I'm a part of the whole. I'm not
Yes.
him just realizing that. I think between that and then the conversations with Pocock while he was struggling to get back on the main boat, it all just kind of came.
He
to
kept
a
coming.
crescendo.
Yeah, it kept building.
Yeah.
Husky Clipper, by the way, is the name of the boat. I found it.
Yep.
Husky Clipper.
That's the one that won the Olympics.
It's the one that they use all. Yeah.
Yep. Still, I believe, still hanging
It
in
is.
the Washington.
Yep.
Is it in the boathouse?
We should
or-
have gone there to film this episode.
Oh, dude, so cool! I got chills when he talked about
We
the
need a
freshman
budget.
coach introducing it. I think George Pocock is absolutely the unsung underlying hero of the entire story. I think that speaks to, if it's through Joe's eyes, it
He's
speaks to
that
how
mentor,
much Joe
he's that
looked
guide.
up to George
Yeah.
Pocock for
No doubt about
sure.
it.
without
All right,
a
so
doubt.
here's a, depending on how you want to look at a hidden gem, this is what I was looking for. So
Yeah.
the shenanigans that happen on the way
Oh, hilarious.
to the Olympics. So I mean, the Olympics, you guys might know this. I didn't realize this until like recent years, that it's like one big like sex fest. Like
Yeah.
they pass
I've
out
seen that.
They
Yeah.
pass out tons of condoms, and like
I
like,
don't know.
apparently
this to
like
be true.
these athletes, they're all living in the same areas for long periods of time during the Olympics, and it's just like
Olympic Village, right?
like
yeah, they're all staying.
like STDs and all this kind of stuff. So but this, like, it goes all the way back to the 30s, where like on the boat ride over,
Yeah.
this swimmer named Eleanor Holm,
This is
who's it describes her as 22 years old, beautiful, married, minor celebrity, having performed bit parts in several Warner Brothers movies. She kept drinking with the crew,
Yeah.
with like the actual like boat crew.
Well, I thought she got invited to a party by the journalists.
Well, that was the last time.
Oh,
so
got it,
she
okay.
kept getting caught drinking like with crew members.
Got it.
And then they said, "Hey, you need to stop that," basically. So then she gets invited
Got
by a journalist, and just to have a gotcha moment. So she was deemed an alcoholic and thrown off the Olympic team
Yeah.
in the middle of the ocean on the way to Berlin.
She wasn't thrown into the ocean.
She wasn't thrown into the ocean, at least not. In
I
this
believe
book.
there was a protest signed by
Yeah,
like
didn't-
250
wasn't she able to come
athletes.
back?
I
don't
think
know if she
so.
was able to come back, but
I think
think she
something
was.
happened where I don't know why it must have.
And then she became a movie star.
yeah, I think it ended up being actually great for her career.
Did you guys feel like there was so many like parts that remind you of Inglourious Bastards in this book?
That is definitely a movie we need to do.
So definitely a movie.
Oh
yeah.
man, love
World War
Inglourious
II.
Basterds.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, what should have happened. That's what he does. Is he rewrites history in his last.
Who's
Talk about being in
Quentin
a,
Tarantino.
talk about
Oh,
being
man.
in a basement.
Oh jeez. You talking about Pulp Fiction?
No,
Oh, I thought you were talking
Inglourious
about- I thought you were
Bastards.
talking about Pulp Fiction.
No, Inglourious Bastards. They're fighting in the
Tarantino's the
basement.
best, man.
Yeah, he has basement issues, doesn't he?
That's good.
It's a Mexican standoff.
He said that's the best line in that whole movie. Is like,
Save it for the episode.
no, but hold on. He goes. He speaks third best Italian. I don't speak Italian. That's why you're third best.
Why don't you start right now?
That's why he's third best.
Another hidden gem. Ulbrichtson realizing Bobby Mock struggled when he was leading led to him saying, "Hey, we're going to stay behind until the last second." Like
Yeah.
that was the beginning of like realizing like, oh, Bobby actually doesn't do very well leading.
Yeah.
Let's flip the script here. And it sounded like they were kind of one of the first teams to do this. I'm sure it's gotten more popular. But basically what the team ended up doing on their Olympic run is they just stay at, let's say, the high 20 strokes while the other teams are completely wearing themselves out. And they'll get down to a couple 100 meters left and then just absolutely blow their doors off. And I think that was big by Ulbrichtson. I got a lot of Bobby Mock moments in here that I would love. I don't know if he wrote an autobiography or anything, but I would read it.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Marcus,
That would
what you
be a
got?
Part 2 on this.
I put this in Hidden Gems. How often do you guys read the epilogue?
Depends on the book, but I do.
This one I did.
Yeah, I did on this one too, but let's call it a hidden gem because it's in the epilogue.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
So this is after they finished their senior year,
Uh huh.
right? Poughkeepsie was the last race for Roger Moore, Shorty Hunt, and Joe Rance by Royal Brahms calculations. Done that night on a bar napkin in 4 years of college rowing. Each of them had rode approximately 4,344 miles, far enough to take him from Seattle to Japan. Along the way, each had taken roughly 469,000 strokes with his oar, all in preparation for only 28 miles of actual collegiate racing.
Nuts.
Wow.
In those 4 years, and over the course of those 28 miles, the three of them, Joe, Shorty, and Roger, had never once been defeated.
That's amazing.
I saved that instead of using it as one of the
That's
quotes.
awesome.
That's
I
worth
saved
writing
it
about
for
in
him.
itself. The amount of time that goes into practice and why practice is important, and also what the like. Let's say they didn't do all that practice, and you only include the 28 miles they did in racing. That's not preparing them for anything in life. Competing without the practice is not preparing you for life.
Well, it's pretty rare that anybody's like an overnight success. You know, we did the green lights before, and that's about as close as it gets.
To him being an overnight success?
Because he did preparation and things like that, but like that's about as close as it really gets. Like when we did Grohl's book, right?
Yeah.
He practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. The Beatles practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and did gigs and gigs and gigs. You know, these guys, they didn't win those races on accident.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Man.
to put in
That's
that
Olympic
much
sports,
time
though.
for such. Yeah, I just went to the trials here in
Oh,
Indy
nice.
this last week. It was pretty cool to see, but it really hits you because like
Did you see the?
you pay
were you
the
there on
money
the night
you
they
pay
did
the money for like 1 hour, right? And then you see Caleb Dressel go do a 50 free.
Mm-hmm.
It takes like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one race, and he's gonna have a chance to do that. But that one race took 20 seconds.
Yeah.
How much prep did it take him?
Yeah.
There's a swimmer from Notre Dame who's going to be in the Olympics, and I think his only event is the 50 free.
Yeah.
Like 20-second race.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Were you there for the head-to-head to see who goes the two girls?
No, I was there the next night.
Oh man.
We should do cool runnings on this show.
Oh, dude, yes.
Just do
Yes.
a bunch of Olympic stuff since it's an Olympic year.
It's hard not to want to. Yeah.
Instead of bringing a drink, we all bring an egg. Cool.
Dead man.
The part that got me, I got emotional the last race. I teared up. I didn't cry, but
Sure.
another part that got me was Joe's first day back in the top boat. Shorty Hunt slaps on his back and says, "I got your back, Joe."
Yeah.
Mm.
And like that, you could just tell that was like Joe was home.
Yeah.
Like he did not have that. He didn't have any consistency growing up. He didn't have anybody looking out for him like that. Like that meant everything. And I think that's when he realized, oh, this is what I was. This is what I was missing.
That was really good, bro.
Oh, so good. I just thought we've lost the art of special celebrations, special things. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. When they won their freshman crew, they did a celebratory row when they were named the #1 boat. I just don't see people doing those types of
thought you were
I
gonna
love
say-
that. I love that row that night, and it's
Yeah.
like 30 degrees outside.
Yeah,
and-
they
Yeah.
were like,
and
let's
they
get
just-
back in the boat and
let's
row.
go do it and let's row.
Giving
Yeah.
the winning team your jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Throwing
all-
the coxswain in the water.
throwing the cocks in the water, like that. All those things. Like I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's the
Tradition.
sports I play, but I don't think we do those things anymore because we're so focused on the next thing or
It's
how we
all
look or whatever.
individual, right?
It's all individual.
Everything's individual.
Not they didn't
How much
wear
money
their
can I get?
official USA Olympic jerseys because they didn't want to mess them up. For the Olympic gold medal race, they wore mismatched biker shorts and old sweaters.
Yep.
So cool. Pocock, do you know how he christened the official shell? Do you remember? Because it was going to Germany.
No.
Sauerkraut juice.
Yes.
Dude, little stuff like that. Like we just, I don't hear about anybody doing those types of things. Like
Yeah.
it's like taking the
I
moment
love
to go,
the-
how can I make this special?
I also love the Hitler like totally rigged the race. Or
Well,
Goebbels
so
or
that
whoever.
was my hidden gem.
I love. Okay, I'll let you
talk
go
about
ahead.
it. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's just, to steal one from Hitler after we know how that story ends, and to see him sitting front row knowing that he has rigged this race.
So back up. How did he rig the race?
So there's lanes, and obviously there's weather elements, and so the outer lane has said to have higher winds, higher waves, and that was not what
It was
Washington.
a slower lane.
It was a slower lane, basically, and based on trial runs, Washington or the U.S. in this case should not have been in that lane.
should have gotten the best lane for sure.
They should have
They
been
set
closest.
they set the Olympic record in their heat, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And for basically no reason at all, no given reason, they're like, that's where you're racing. You're racing in lane 6.
Somehow Germany
and Italy got 1-2 who are BBFs, and then
Great Britain and U.S. are over there on
and
the
then
outside.
Great Britain and U.S. are in the horrible
Right,
lane.
right.
Another aspect to it that I don't even know if it was on purpose, but the way that their boat was positioned.
By the way, we still won.
Yes, we did.
Back-to-back World War champs.
When they hit a certain point, maybe 100 meters left, they couldn't hear Bobby Mock anymore because the crowd was right next to him.
Yeah.
And they needed to go faster.
So Bobby figures out a way to clang the side of the boat to get their attention. Don Hume's dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I mean,
we haven't talked about Hume at all. By the way,
give me riff on Hume for a little bit. What do we need to appreciate Don Hume?
Don Hume gets sick before, like while they're in New York training, right? So after Poughkeepsie, while they're in New York, he's sick on the boat. Yep. He's sick when they get there to
Losing
Germany.
Weight.
Has some sort of respiratory illness, and we read the passage about what you need, what kind of oxygen you need to be able to take in.
But he also can't eat.
Right? Yeah, can't eat. He's losing weight like crazy. He basically, on the Olympic trial, when they go out there, he falls over afterwards.
Mm-hmm. It's like Jordan in the fourth quarter with 140.
Yeah, flu game. It's flu game.
Falls over afterwards.
Wasn't flu.
They have to get him
food poisoning.
They
Utah.
have to. Okay. They have to get him.
Hold on, can you tell us the
Marcus was rooting for Utah.
Story before
Marcus was rooting for Utah.
You were a Karl Malone fan, the mailman.
I was not a Karl Malone fan.
John Stockton and Hornacek.
Reggie fan.
I mean,
anybody but the Bulls.
I like Stockton.
You were the one that delivered the pizza.
Might have been.
Son of a gun.
I don't know.
Byron Russell.
It was a pizza.
Isn't it Brian Russell?
Anyway, Don Hume is almost dead to the point where he gets pulled from the boat.
Yeah.
And
Coach,
the boys and the boys,
right?
They basically say we're doing it
vote
with him.
in.
Yeah, they basically
they
say
pull a Rudy. No, Rudy pulled a them. This would have been pre-Rudy.
Sure.
By the way, Rudy, the real guy,
he's a character.
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this.
Marcus is taking care of his P's and Q's
Let's
over
just
there.
say the movie.
no
Let's just
comment.
say, I'd rather meet Sean Astin than Rudy. Let's just say that.
That's a good point. Anyway, Don Hume gets put back in this boat, can barely move. Rows and the stroke oar is the most important position because it sets the pace. He at some point during the race falls over to the point where, like, Bobby Mock basically thinks he's dead. He's like, this guy is passed out.
Yeah.
And he can't get his attention. He's getting ready to tell Joe to take over the stroke so that they can move ahead and move forward. And the way that the story's told, at least, he snaps up. Hume just snaps up,
Undertaker
ready
style.
to go, Undertaker style, and finishes the freaking race.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now
like,
in the book, in the movie, Mock says something to him, but I don't think in the book.
In the book, he says he's
well, in the book,
yelling at
he's
him,
yelling at him,
his
trying to
attention.
get his
Right.
attention, and he just can't.
But yeah, so in the movie, he says something that like you can see his eyes turning,
got it.
and I don't think the book supports that.
yeah, well, in
Like
any
something
case,
just happened.
Yeah.
in any case, like a heroic freaking like performance for the USA to show Hitler what's up.
I thought that was kind of a hidden gem too, though. Is stroke rate is not consistent with overall speed.
Yeah,
it's
you've
how
gotta
well like
And the power.
Well, you own a rower, you know that it's like
Yeah.
how hard you're rowing. Plus
Bobby's
the rate.
realization of my team can hang at 30, 31, 32, and everybody else is going at 38, and hang with them and let them get tired, and then I can put the
Right.
Man, there's so many moments that I feel like he was always gaining knowledge of how can I get the most out of this team, and Don was a big part of that.
a huge part of it. So Joe ended up being a big part of that, right? Too, because the power aspect and element of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to take that to real life example, like it's like I want to work hard and smart, type of a thing. Like, I
for 4 miles.
like I like sometimes in my job more doesn't equal more. Like more activity doesn't equal more results.
That's what all great delegators say.
No, it does. It's true. Like at least in my job, my role, me just doing more does not mean that us and our team are gonna have better results.
Well, we keep going back to like practice and what practice actually looks like. I wonder, I don't know if the book went into this, but how long a practice was and what they were doing on a regular basis.
Dude, I don't think so.
I mean, how long would those practices have to be to truly prepare you for the amount of
It definitely
exertion?
talked about sun going down, rowing in the dark.
Right.
So,
and
think about this. Like, you never
nasty
saw them
weather.
with gloves. Can you imagine the amount of blisters you would get on your hands for
Dude,
rowing?
they were rowing and there were crazy March winter
Oh,
snowstorms in Seattle. It honestly, like,
are you allowed to wear gloves? I don't even know.
I
this.
have no idea.
Currently, are they made out? And the other thing I wish I would have looked up before the show is like, are they made out of fiberglass now, or are they still wood?
The-
Like, you know?
the
So
boats
no,
are.
the
boats are made out of
epilogue,
fiberglass?
Yeah, it is. They did move on to that.
What about the rows? What about the oars?
I don't know. Remember when or was it me that broke them?
Yeah, at our draft Olympics. Yeah, I was like, I'll buy another one. Don't worry. It was $120. They're so expensive.
So it did remind me though, and I know I'm talking to lifelong Colts fans. I'm a new Colts fan. Many parts of it did remind me of how Patriots players talk about Belichick's practices, where it's like, we don't have an indoor facility.
Yeah.
We don't, like, we're going outside. Don't ask me about it. We're like, it pays off, man.
Yeah.
Like, it really pays off.
Totally.
Their ability to perform in horrible conditions when all these other teams did not do so, like whether it was Cal or Germany or whatever, like it really was the reason that they ended up winning, because there were horrible conditions on most important races.
Pansies from Harvard.
Anything else before we get into rating? Anything else you'd be like so upset we didn't get into? By the way, we bought Marcus bought it. Marcus bought a clock. The clock is been stuck on 99.59.99.
I saw it was like 78 minutes left. I'm like, I don't know how you're doing this.
We're crushing. It's a great book.
Yeah.
It's an amazing book.
Read
And
it
really good.
and then listen to this podcast again.
Yeah, important.
Yeah.
Anything else before
Brett won't listen to it, so we need you all to make up for Brett.
before rating? Anything else?
No.
All right.
Let me ask you something. When Riley texted you and said, you made me laugh on this episode, did you listen to that one?
No.
Oh, wow. Not even that.
Let's do this for a question real quick. Which of us would be most likely to be able to make it through the rowing season? One rowing season. We're all pretty. We've all done sports. We're all pretty mentally tough.
I feel like Rem's got the best combo of mental toughness and
body
and physical ability.
It'd be hard just physical from what you need to have in order to row. Those guys were all
huge.
Maybe
they
weren't all 6 foot. I don't know.
They
but
were.
They
were all
coxswain
tall.
was super.
They were all tall.
This isn't the reason why, but I have broken my shoulder and separated it like 14 times. So I'll bow out.
That's true.
I'll bow out. I'm also smallest. So
have you done anything since you got your surgery to like really push it?
I would love to.
Did you
but
have your surgery after you threw it out at the Olympics?
Yes,
You did.
that was the last straw.
But you
Softball
still have
tomorrow,
not-
Man.
but you-
softball's by your house tomorrow.
I've lifted a lot. But my muscle memory over. What would it be?
Wait
My
a
muscle-
second, I'm remembering something now. So his daughters have nurse's elbow all the time.
Yep.
Charlie had nurse's elbow one time.
I don't have any idea what we're talking about.
So nurse's elbow is when a kid
You're under 6.
dislocates their elbow, and
It happens because you tug on them.
You're saying you know, and I don't know.
Okay.
So
okay,
now I
maybe
know.
So we're definitely at the end.
It
of the
is
episode.
it is a fractional elbow dislocation that can be easily fixed.
Okay, so
Got it.
So this happened to Charlie, and when she was 3 or 4, and I came home from work, and I put it back. I watched YouTube on, as soon as I got home, and put it back in, and I'm like, Dr. Daddy, and like she's never forgotten, and I'm like,
Charlie's not
hero.
left-handed, by the way.
Yeah. So it happened, but it used to happen to Willow, Brett's eldest, all the time, and one time. I wasn't there, but I was like, he's like, we're going to the hospital. I was like, no, I can do this. And then they were already at the hospital. So what's funny is, do you remember? I'm the one that put your shoulder back in, at
the
the
Olympics?
at the Olympics.
I was
you
like
told me
ready
to,
to
you told me
drive
to lie
into the
down.
hospital.
Yeah, I
the-
got you in that position on that chair, and he was like, I gotta go to the hospital. I was like, no, dude, I got this, and I put you in the chair, and I got your shoulder back in
While I was running, sprinting to my car and driving up there
to get
take
him to exactly.
So,
It's like, I got you.
so here's what happens when I dislocate it. I kind of black out from like the initial pain, but also
From, like,
just
the
the shock. I thought I was walking to the garage to lay on the table, and when I took a step, it got back into place.
No, we got you all the way there.
Didn't remember. No, I don't remember.
That's true because I have actually taken him to the
Yeah,
hospital
you took
for
me to the yard
this.
before.
So I was fine. So we used to play basketball 5 a.m. 5:30.
I still do.
Oh yeah, Marcus.
Do you still
has
play
been-
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brett and I were playing there one time, and Brett
I
throws
do remember
his
that.
shoulder out. So I take.
Do
Brett
you know who
Favre
threw?
did?
Do you know who threw my shoulder out?
Brett
Yeah.
Favre?
I was guarding
It
Chris
was-
Gibson. Chris ripped through. What like you do? It's a basketball move, but when Chris does it,
Chris
it's
through.
ripped through. And yeah.
And you were trying to. Okay.
Yeah.
So we take him.
I thought maybe you were throwing a Brett Favre pass.
So
Oh, no.
he's in the car next. He's in the seat next to me, and he's actually doing well. Because like he's got it in a position where it doesn't hurt. It's just discomfort. So much so that I'm like, dude, can we stop? Or no, that was after.
Can we stop at McDonald's?
Can we stop eating at McDonald's? Was that after? I think it was after. Actually, I know it was after because I was fine the entire time. I go into
That's the most Rem. Rem is always thinking about food. Always.
so
Hey man,
so
do you want
He
anything?
is Joe Rance.
Can you hear me? I gotta go. No, so I get him to the hospital, and like I put on like Superman mode. Like I've got you. I'll carry you if I have to. Like, and then as soon as someone else gets him, he's at the hospital and he's in the bed. Like I kind of let my guard down a little bit, but I shouldn't do that because they gave him morphine or some sort of drug. And he starts, like, I can physically see his demeanor changing, and I don't know why, but I get so nauseated from that. Like, I start freaking out. Like, it's something that
Well, here's
hit
the
me
thing.
because, like, he's going in and out of consciousness, and, like, I
And
was
this
like,
was pre-McDonald's or post?
this is pre-McDonald's. Because
Oh,
if I,
darn.
Yeah, because if I would have had food in my system, I would probably,
We totally forgot to tell Riley until it was all over too.
Let's rate it.
Yeah.
that it was happening.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Jeez.
hilarious. Well, honestly, at that point, it happened
By the
so many
way,
times.
like when you go to an ER, they're going to gouge you for every single thing.
Oh,
They
yeah.
try to
It's
give me every
ridiculous.
drug.
We're going to
It's-
give you this drug.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Come on, man. All right, rating. I will start. We'll go, man. It's a 9.
It is a
It's
9.
a freaking 9. It's a 9, Marcus.
It is an
9.
We got one.
We got our first
We got
9
one.
across the board.
We got one.
It is. It is a 9.
You got to give it to him.
9 out of 9.
I
I,
mean,
almost
heck
said 10
of a
out of
book.
9.
I want to read some more of his stuff.
Yeah, so I got another one that is about the journey.
Japanese Americans.
So you mentioned that before. The one that I have is like the journey across to the west for the gold rush.
No, in the back of this book, I read it. It's called Facing the Mountain.
True story of Japanese American heroes in World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll
Um,
have to read that one too.
And it's crazy because they have they've got their relatives in internment camps, and they're over there fighting for.
I like
America.
this is definitely like a off pace from the biographies. I do think biographies are a great way to go for this show because they play so well. Did either of you guys come up with a biography that we should read?
Well,
Oh, next.
that
yeah.
would be what's next after your rating.
Yeah.
I gave it a rating. I said
We
9
all
across
said
the
9.
board.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, we
Oh,
all
all
said
across
9.
the board.
Well, what's next? We got to do a movie. We didn't decide beforehand.
Well,
We
I
did
think
have a
this puts
request.
pressure on.
Oh, we did.
We did have a request from one of our listeners to do A Knight's Tale.
Oh,
Oh,
a nice
man.
tale.
I'm down.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I could
Totally-
do that right
Totally.
now.
Yeah, we could film it right now. I'd be ready.
Oh, it's so good. And watching The Patriot made me want to watch Knight's Tale.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Heath
Do
Ledger's
you want
man.
to do that next? Knight's
Yeah.
Tale.
Knight's Tale.
Knight's
Done.
Tale.
We'll do a Knight's Tale next, and we'll tell you guys what book we're.
Do we
gonna
have an
read.
email people can submit
that
requests
point.
yet?
We do have an email people can submit things
the,
to.
the cover pod.
I think it's thecoverpod at
At
gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Let me confirm that.
The cover pod.
The cover pod
at
gmail.com.
Let's go to YouTube Studio.
Right now, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube.
Spotify, Apple.
And I'm
Subscribe, like,
Follow
comment,
and email.
take the poll.
Yeah,
all
did you
the
see my
things.
last poll?
Yeah.
I can't remember what I put, but I remember
Under
laughing.
10?
I remember laughing about it.
You know
What
who
was
didn't
it?
see it?
You
Brad.
probably. 'Cause just all I have to say is at least download
At
it.
least download
Oh,
it.
I am listening to the opener. We are getting a view. Don't you worry. I'm 99% sure it's the coverpod@gmail.com. If it's not, you'll find out on the next episode.
Pretty sure it is. Yep. All right. We'll see you, peeps. We're out.
Knight's Tale next. Bye.